Alright, welcome back to Game 10 of Lucid's 2022 tournament, where we were playing Phlegra. It was turn 72. And things are looking a little desperate against Atlantis here. We can see there are a lot of attacks that Atlantis is making against us, but we're not sitting still. We have quite a few magic phase attacks here, also bringing in a decent number of summons. And in the background, Marignon just claiming thrones. Not that we're in a position to do anything about this, at least not yet. And then we continue to play our temperature games with Atlantis. So this is the place that they try to cool down. So we're going to try to heat it up. That's the fort that they took from us. And then, yeah, these must be our magic phase battles here. We have some attacks, which is nice. Yeah, there's a province that Atlantis retook from us. Not really even sure if this is worth it, but we should be able to destroy this raiding group here. Actually, I take that back. This is a Wind of Death fellow, though sadly he does have a death gem left. But the air elementals should be able to do the trick. Yeah, it looks like he needs more death gems to actually pull that off. So we do spend a lot of air gems to do this. But on the other hand, right, there's a skull staff, some penetration gear, cap only mage, probably needs certain randoms. Yeah, we really don't like those Wind of Death guys. So, you know, maybe we send one sorceress next time. But I certainly don't hate this. Much better result than many of our other recent battles, so I'll take it. And then we are just jumping on another Wind of Death fellow? Yeah, looks like it. And this should be a similar story, though there's a lot more province defense here, so that is concerning, because we don't really have a good way to magic phase in some sort of screen for our mages. And we also do not like ranged fire. These might not be dudes in robes, but arrows and crossbow bolts are just as bad for ladies in robes. So hopefully, yeah, the air elementals, they do like to squish commanders. And they got all the commanders. This works out for us. Little on the dangerous side, but eliminating 2 Wind of Death casters, very nice. And this is absolutely the way that, you know, we want to handle any Wind of Death traps, you know, that get left out in the open. And we'll hopefully dissuade Atlantis from at least doing them as often. But unfortunately, Atlantis, you know, is on the offensive here, so they attack us in a location. Yeah, these birds. Did we leave any more province defense? Hey, we actually do have some more. We have some province defense and some retreats from when we ran into a Wind of Death trap. But I think we have enough stuff here. Potentially, yeah, we do get routed. Oh man, that bird commander every time. So I do think this is going to work out for Atlantis. Nope, replay bug. This is being recorded significantly later. So we can expect quite a few of those. So this could have worked for Atlantis, but it worked out for us in the actual timeline. Definitely happy about that. We have a shackled mage that gets eaten. This is due to the lightless lanterns. Then we have a couple more of our attacks before a whole host of Atlantean attacks. And I say attacks, this is us just pinging the fortification that Atlantis took. Looks like they chose not to patrol, so they're just hanging out or potentially moved out, but definitely not patrolling. And then I think this is a legitimate attack. Yeah, we combined 2 of our raiding squads. So we got some swarm and some fire elementals, and there is a defense here, a pretty significant one. Yeah, this is looking like quickness on some of their ice clad, small communion, probably some soul slay. No, maybe some water elementals. Yeah, I see some lesser water air elementals. So we got fire against water. Fortunately, it's really cold here, so that's not ideal. But Pillar of Fire is quite strong. Yeah, so ice elementals, ice versus fire, pretty classic kind of thing. But Pillar of Fire is quite strong. If this fellow ever wakes up and makes dead, though, yeah, raised dead, that's going to be a problem for us. And it looks like, unfortunately, our fire elementals did lose. That temperature difference making a big deal. But Pillar of Fire managing to hold out. One of our mages decides it's a bad idea and bails. Yeah, we're getting hit with Mind Burn and things like that. And it does look like, and Frozen Heart. Yeah, very good spell. So this doesn't work out for us. But was at least a close battle. We do lose a host of shackled mages, which is pretty painful. The Witch, not such a big deal. Our oppressors do escape, cowards that they are. But sadly, we don't really kill much, right? We kill some province defense, a few ice guard, not worth it. But, you know, you got to try these things. And then speaking of trying things, Atlantis is trying us in a lot of different locations. So not sure. Yeah, this is just a regular province here. And this is a competent raiding squad. So we're going to get wiped out here. We do at least kill a Forgiving Father. Of course, that is one of the feeble-minded fellows. So that's actually a win for Atlantis because they don't have to pay him anymore. You know, Dominions it's a cold, hard place. And then, was this a Wind of Death trap again? No, this looks like a quickness. I'm not actually sure. Water elementals, I'm thinking. Probably doesn't matter. Yeah, we do have some province defense here, but I don't think it's enough. Yeah, not to deal with a living water cast. And indeed, that does work out for Atlantis. And then let's see, we have another attack. Okay, this is their northern army, hopefully running into one of our traps. No, they managed to find one of our provinces that we still own, but that we are not really properly defending. So that's unfortunate. And of course, that does work out for Atlantis. And then let's see, we have another probably raid, though potentially one of these could be their army moving out. No, this is a raid in force. Looks like some body ethereal stuff. Yeah, we just have province defense here. So again, this is not going to work out for us. This war definitely starting to turn against us. Atlantis doesn't really lose anything there. Fairly minimal levels of province defense investment. We don't lose too much other than the province, of course. And then, yeah, this is the the army that has that double axe of hate fellow. So they're moving in from the north, kind of northeast, and we do not have anything to resist them, though at least we have a palisade here, so it's going to take them probably only a turn to crack this empty palisade, but still, we'll take it. We are at least moving some mages in. We just don't really have much of a front line for them to try to resist this force. So, of course, that does not work out for us. And then let's see, we are attacked. This is Atlantis' main army with all the forgiving fathers moving forward. And we do have a small communion here. It looks like we were expecting some raiders potentially. Not really actually sure why we are sacrificing these fellows and their fire gems. I know that there is a vampire lord that's been lurking around. Man, yeah, look at all that enslaved mind. Super rough when we do not have the magic anti-magic up. Yeah, here goes. Even our mages. This is quite a large communion, so they do get a boost from that. And there's probably some penetration items in there as well, but you can really see the difference with not having anti-magic. These guys go down really, really fast, so this is not great for us. But we were expecting them to move forward, and in a lot of ways it is kind of good for us because this is the location where we're gathering, our main army, right? So if we're going to be able to resist this force anywhere, it's going to be in this location. And then a final raid somewhere else. We do actually have quite a bit of province defense here, but this is a skelly spammer, though he only has 2 trolls. And this is decent province defense type, a lot of crossbows, so potentially this could work out for us. Yeah, the trolls route off, and we'll see. This guy is not able to gain health from anything. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Although, of course, I say that, now our infantry gets up. Yeah, we do manage to kill him. Excellent. So happy that that one works out for us. Always good to vary your province defense level investments. And then we have some unexpected events. Yep, scorching wildfires, I suspect. Okay, no, just some trade. Just some plague. We should be so lucky as to get some trade. We do have Rebirth kicking in, trying to give us, a little bit of population back. Thanks, Rebirth. We've been finding a lot of nature gems recently. That is nice. I want to know what constitutes strange events in Dominions, because I feel like strange events are kind of commonplace here, but nonetheless, they're happening, and there's some unrest as a result. Ulm gets attacked by some direwolves, and it works out. It looks like it's a province they're not really defending. And then we get patrolled out. We patrol out an Atlantean scout in a location. This is our northern army hanging out. The enemy has breached that fort immediately, so we're probably going to have to come out and fight because we've talked about how, defending has a lot of problems in this situation. It looks like the palisade also got cracked. So we have a lot of work cut out for us, and I'll turn you back over to Pastor Janice to talk about what the plan is. All right, this is the situation and what we're doing about it. Most importantly, I have fixed my mic problem, so I am no longer speaking into the literal void. And perhaps the next most important thing, though this is technically a bit of future knowledge, because I didn't get this message until after this turn rolled, but Utgard wants to know how our war against Atlantis is going. I had definitely noticed the buildup next to both of our throne fortifications, so honestly, when I saw a message from him, I figured it would just be a non-aggression pact cancellation, though, like I said, wouldn't surprise me if there was a non-aggression pact violation in this instance. They also mentioned that they saw that we have a fort in our cap circle being sieged, so yeah, obviously they're going to be doing their own scouting. I'm not really sure what they're fishing after. Maybe they don't have that much scouting over here, so they would just like to get our overall assessment of the picture. Maybe they're hoping, to be released from the non-aggression pact, where I'll just be like, yeah, just come in and take our forts and our thrones. You can never really know for sure, so probably I'll just tell him that, it's part of a larger and bolder strategy. And speaking of that larger and bolder strategy, we are being sieged in the location where we want this army to be, sort of. I mean, considering that things have been going badly, Plan B, this is where it is located. Of course, Plan B is a little bit insane, and, they've picked this turn to go insane, so we will still have, basically, we probably actually could have gotten an extra earthquake. No, we didn't have enough items. So we just had to grab this guy instead that we just recruited from the capital. So we will end up with 4 earthquakes. So we've got, all these casters back here. We're also going to throw out like anti-magic and doom. I think we also added firestorm to this. So, we'll see about that. My concern is that like the earthquake is going to bring, especially the casters, like a lot of them low. There's a pretty good chance that a lot of them won't die. Firestorm is not great, but, with all the earthquakes going down, there's a fair chance that we interrupt a lot of important buffs. And, our tyrants have not been doing a great job of surviving. So we'll see. We've got one tyrant who's decked out with a lot of magic resistance gear. Yeah, this fellow here, so like he has a vine shield, so hopefully that'll help prevent him from, getting overwhelmed in terms of the melee. I am pretty concerned that this is going to be destroyed. His magic resistance is significantly higher, but, still not unbeatable, not by a long shot. He's got no regeneration either, right? So in order to get that higher magic resistance, we had to switch out our chest piece, which means we have no more cold resistance. So we had to give him a Ring of Frost, so no more Ring of Regeneration. The plan is to put up Soul Vortex, so, he will have some health coming in. But yeah, there's a good chance that, this is just sort of a waste of time and resources, but if it works, it'll work big. We're gonna risk it. We're also making some fire elementals for cover. We're also bringing out a few yetis to just provide other targets for soul slays and etc. So we can hopefully at least get through our earthquakes uninterrupted. If that does fail, then we just have kind of our conventional forces hanging out in the fort. They're scripted. We've given them a bunch of gems. If Atlantis chooses to assault this turn, I think there's a pretty good chance we win that battle. I mean, I don't know. I thought there was a good chance we would win the other battle, but even if the earthquake traps don't manage to kill a lot of units, the damage will stick around if there's another battle fought the same turn. And I do think it'll do at least enough damage, to make it a much more costly victory for Atlantis. If not a victory for us. So, we'll see. Really, I think in a lot of ways, the biggest danger is if Atlantis moves off, leaves the Winded Death Trap or something like that. I mean, it won't really affect we'll lose some mages. Absolutely. The slave mages, no matter what happens, they die. This is the Phlegran way. The rest of our units won't care that much about a Wind of Death. But we will spend a bunch of gems, and most importantly, we'll kind of reveal, once Atlantis knows that that's what we're trying to do, there are definitely things they can do, to make it irrelevant, or at least much less relevant. And, I really have no idea. I haven't done a great job predicting what Atlantis is going to do. I've had some success. I think the main danger at this point is that they're just going to move on top of Phlegra, again, with an eye, right, to shutting down the Tyrant production. On the other hand, they saw that this is where all of our stuff is. So, now they do actually have, a retreat route open. That's kind of nice. If they can destroy what's inside this fort, then we're basically done. I mean, we do have the Northern Army, absolutely, so we're not 100% done, but you'd get them, at least 50% of the way there. Considering, what we have available is what already lost a battle to this army, and Atlantis has the fort crack, and, they've been dealing with the tyrants really effectively, right? It's do they really feel the need to rush to shut down Phlegra, when, they've been killing tyrants left, right, and center? So anyway, all this to say that I'm gambling that Atlantis, is going to try to storm. The other thing we could do is just sit inside our fort, right? And then that way, if they move off, we won't reveal the trap. But at the same time, it's if we could break out with a smaller force that would knock off something minor that they left behind. But that would mean that if Atlantis assaults, our earthquake trap goes off, with the rest of our forces around. And while I'm hoping that 4 earthquakes will deal a lot of damage to Atlantis, 4 earthquakes would absolutely obliterate everything else that we have. So, we're kind of stuck. I think this is realistically the only option. But, there's a fair chance that Atlantis moves away, in which case, yeah, we're going to have to rethink. We may still try it, but let's just hope Atlantis sticks around. And like I said, we've given them plenty of reasons to be confident. And that's more or less all that we're doing for the moment. Like, we have some defensive moves. I think we're just, this guy's just cruising around. I'm not even sure why he's out here. But yeah, we have one tyrant moving out, like hoping to block some of this. There are a bunch of Forgiving Fathers down here, so that's pretty dangerous. I think this is at least one of our guys. Nope, standard magic resistance. Ooh, and this is unfortunate. This guy moved in. He's supposed to be sneaking. Oh well. Unfortunately, if he had some Astral Pearls, he could cast anti-magic, and well, I think this guy probably has Iron Will scripted, so it wouldn't matter anyway. But yeah, we're hoping to block some raiding. We kind of out of resources in terms of blocking raiding in this area. We do have a decent amount of province defense here, but unfortunately, we just don't really have anything available. We are moving some mages back, but again, these guys no longer have any communion slaves, so they're going to be a lot less useful. And of course, the other thing is this fort has been cracked by this force over here, and while we do have some stuff available, we haven't really built up enough where I'm, feeling confident about taking this on. And one of the main things we were going to add is this tyrant that was coming out. And then, obviously, since we have some insanity, this is more important than this force over here. So while losing this palisade will suck, it doesn't even have a lab or anything. We were never really able to quite finish that infrastructure. So, it would be a valuable province, though we've been having some unrest problems there. Anyway, we are planning on recapturing it. We will send in some more stuff. Hopefully this all goes swimmingly and some of our tyrants, get freed up. And, we can move one of them over to assist us over here. But again, for the moment, we're kind of focused on dealing with this kind of existential threat. In the north, we're also not really moving out. We can see that this, to me, looks like a Wind of Death trap that was left behind, right? We really don't want to walk into one of those with one of our armies. And while I feel like the obvious move for this army is to, move back in here, it can combine with this Wind of Death trap, or only the Wind of Death trap can come in. And these griffins here aren't great, but it does mean that we can't just drop air elementals onto this caster. So I really like that addition. Other than the fact that it's a major problem for us. So again, unfortunately, I think in this area we only have the one tyrant. Yeah, we've really pulled back a lot of the tyrants. So we have our Wailing Winds fellow, right? Because the way to handle this, though it's a lot harder to handle, is with a tyrant. But we kind of have to predict, right? The tyrants have no magic phase movement, so we can't jump on these groups the same way that we could. So, even if we had a tyrant available and we try to move into this location, pretty good chance that the Wind of Death trap moves, or Atlantis does the switcheroo, right? They bring their army back. In which case, we're slamming a tyrant into an army, and we've seen how that goes. So we'll have to think about, kind of the best way to try to eliminate these new Wind of Death groups. But yeah, we could definitely try to raid out with some stuff, but just not really willing to risk it at the moment. Particularly because we probably will pull a lot of this back if, this battle goes completely against us. Otherwise, I don't think we've seen too much in the way of movement, on the world stage. Things are more or less progressing kind of the way they've been progressing. Like I said, I do expect a war to break out between Utgard and Marignan relatively soon. I think the fact that Utgard is reaching out to us and asking about the status of our war while massing on the border of both of our thrones does indicate to me that, right, Utgard is planning on making their move, which, doubles down on the idea that it's Marignan and Utgard that are about to start fighting, because Utgard, even if they take certainly both of our border thrones, they still need a throne from Marignan. I'd have to recount, but potentially if they come all the way across our territory and grab this throne, that might be enough for them. So yeah, I'll have to go double check that. So, while right now the international situation is stable, that is going to change in the next few turns, I'm pretty certain. If we do manage to destroy this Atlantean army, we might try to open negotiations with them. Obviously this war hasn't really done either of us any favors. And yeah, I don't think there's any other war, right? This, we're not going to make a lot of gains against this. This is not going to be good for us. But I would like to put up like a credible defense like of our thrones, and like at the moment like we don't really have like much in the way of a defense, and realistically we won't be able to provide much of a defense against Utgard if we're still fighting against Atlantis. Even if we stop fighting Atlantis like this turn, there's still a pretty good chance we're just going to get rolled over. But at this point in the game, right, it's like before when it was a 3v1 and it's like, yeah, maybe we can pick up Raga and pick up some Atlantis' territory. That kind of made more sense. Like now at this point, we're well past like, we're in a one capital nation, this entire game. It's turn 72. I'm more looking at this as like seeking an honorable death. So anyway, I think that more or less covers turn 72.